Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up. So I'm actually pretty pumped about this wrap up because this is the first time in a while that I actually completed the entire TBR, um, where there were no like remainder books left over that I didn't get to, and I'm pretty proud of that. But like a lot of these were ebooks, so I found that they were a lot easier to consume and get through. However, I do prefer to hold physical books, and I said to Marcus at the end of the month, I was like, I forget what a book feels like in my hands because it had been so long since I had actually like picked up a book to read instead of using my Kindle or my phone. So yeah, but I am very pumped that I got through all these books. I even threw in some graphic novels in there too. So I went over what I was planning to read, and that's awesome. So the first book I read was Fire on the Island by Timothy J. Smith. This book was about a detective who is on a small island in Greece. He's currently investigating these fires that have been set in different places around this island. He suspects that it's arson, and so he's investigating to figure out what it is. This book is told in multiple perspectives, and it has different people on the island and how they are seeing these different things that are happening, and it all kind of like comes together to solve a mystery. I really did enjoy this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was really descriptive in the way of the island. Like you got to picture the island and feel like you were there. And a lot of the scenes that like the way they were described, like I actually felt like I was sitting on a patio overlooking like the water in Greece. And it was just it was a really cool like atmospheric book. It also had LGBTQ plus representation because the main character is actually gay. So I really enjoyed that aspect as well. And you got to see how he interacted with the different characters and how he used his detective skills, but also like his personality to get through to other people and kind of work this case. I honestly thought it was a really interesting book, and I have read other books by Timothy J. Smith and liked those as well. He does a lot of, I would say, like thrillers, but they're like low key thrillers, so they're not super scary or anything. They're more kind of like investigative thrillers. And yeah, so I really like this book. I would recommend it. Then we have The Tech, and this one was sent to me by Dawn Hill Publications. This one is another kind of like crime book. So the main character in this book is a detective, and she gets transferred to a new team. It's kind of like a ragtag team of people from all over the country that just kind of get thrown together, and they have to work together to solve a bunch of cases. Now, she is noticing that like since she transferred to this new place and they're doing these cases, they're all being solved really fast and very easily. And she is kind of thinking like what's going on here? Normally this is not how it works. It's not this easy to solve cases like this. And so it's kind of her trying to work in the background to figure out how they're solving these cases so fast, but she's also trying to work on the cases because she obviously wants to solve the cases. But she's just very suspicious because there's activities that are happening in the background that are making it too easy. And so some more characters are definitely introduced later on in the book that makes it a little more obvious as to why these things are happening and why things are going so easily for her. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. It was interesting, but I found that the book was just a little too long. Like there were parts that it didn't need to have, and I think that it would have went a lot faster. And so my issue is mainly just with the pacing of the book. I honestly think that if it was a little bit shorter, I probably would have given it a higher rating because it would have went quicker. And yeah, like I didn't need some of that filler content that was in there. That being said, it still was an interesting book, and I did like a lot of the characters. There's one character that's like a very technical person. His name is Mike, and I like related with him a lot because he's kind of like the IT guy in the background that just does all the technical stuff when he's told and like helps out the team, but is like rarely seen. So yeah, that's kind of like me at my job. I'm like the web developer in the background. Nobody really like sees me, but like I just do all the stuff in the background. So yeah, like I kind of related to that character, and I thought it was overall an interesting book. Like I'm glad I read it. I gave it a 3, and a 3 is not a bad rating. A 3 for me is like I liked this book. I probably wouldn't read it again, but like I did enjoy my experience with it. And then I read Billionaire Boss Undercover Affair. This was a romance novel, which I am not used to. I don't really read many romance novels. So this was my first kind of, well, it's not my first, like I've read a couple like novellas here and there, but like this was my first like full romance novel, and it was interesting. I will say there were some scenes that got pretty heated, and I was okay with it. I give this book a 3.5 out of 5 because with the like hot and steamy scenes, they were great, but it also had a good storyline to it that kept me interested in what was going to happen. And I will say it is a pretty predictable book. With romance, like I don't know if they're gonna like have you guessing at the end, but it was still good. Like I still enjoyed it, even with its predictability. And the characters were average characters. I will say though, there was one scene where it was one of the heated parts, and the way they described things, I remember I was brushing my teeth while reading this, and I spit out my toothpaste because it made me laugh so hard at one part where I can't even say it on here, but like it was just a ridiculous way to describe a nipple, and and it was killing me. I was laughing so hard. But like other than that, the book was really fun. And yeah, I would definitely read more romance after this because like getting a taste for it, it was pretty interesting. Like I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, I would definitely read some more romance novels. Then we have The Mirror Man, and this was sent to me as an arc by HarperCollins. And this one was kind of set to be like a sci-fi where it's told that it's kind of like a Blake Crouch vibe to it. And I can see where they say it has Blake Crouch vibes, but I didn't quite get that like intensity of a Blake Crouch book. So this one essentially is a guy who signs up to do this. Well, he works for this company and they offer him this job where he can get his body cloned, get all his memories transferred into his clone, and then he essentially takes off a year, hangs out in this apartment for the entire year, and observes his clone living his life with his family to make sure that like the clone is doing exactly everything the way he would. And yeah, so he just becomes an observer. So as he's observing, he kind of notices that things are kind of not going the way he would want them to, and he realizes that some things that are happening could potentially affect his family and his life after this test is over. So he kind of tries to take things into his own hands and fix them. Yeah, overall, like it was an okay book. I found it to be a little bit predictable. There were parts that I was just like, oh, okay, that's how they did that. That's what I thought was going to happen. All right, no surprise there. Um, it was okay. I got kind of bored at some parts because the guy's like sitting in his apartment just observing things happening, but like not doing things. So it's kind of like I was sitting there observing somebody else, and I was like, I'm kind of bored. Like I want more to happen. I want things to progress and get a little exciting. Which I guess the second half of the book they kind of start getting a little more exciting and do stuff, but for me, I don't know. I gave it a 3 out of 5 because I was just kind of like in the middle with it. Like it wasn't bad, but I also wouldn't say it was like a really good book either. So yeah, which is a little unfortunate because like this was a book I was looking forward to this month. Out of all the books that I had, like I pictured this one to be like one of my favorites, and then it was kind of like in the middle. So yeah, but that's how I felt about that one. Then we have The Seven Keys of Hildegard of Mercy and Death. Now, this is the first in a series, and this is historical fiction, which is another genre that you guys know I don't read that much of, and I don't normally enjoy. This one, however, I gave a 3.5 out of 5 because it did keep me interested, and I did enjoy it. It was essentially like a bunch of scenes throughout history of like good versus evil. Like it is a very religious book, and there's like a good side and a bad side, and they have like a bunch of different forces that are, or not really forces, like not like not like a cult, but they have groups of people that have we'll say formed teams, and so one is for like the good side, one's for the bad side, and they're trying to let these like set of prophecies happen throughout history, and the good side's trying to make these prophecies happen, and the bad side's trying to prevent the prophecies from happening. I don't know, I found it very interesting that it kept going through different parts of time, and you got to be introduced to all these different characters that were helping out either sides, trying to just like do what they could so that the prophecy would happen. I will say that there were a lot of characters introduced, so like I said, I liked that there were characters, but like at some points there were too many characters that I kind of lost track of who was who, because it's also set religiously, so there's like a lot of different priests and different denominations of the church that I kind of didn't like. It was hard to keep track of who was who, and a lot of it's more like the Catholic religion, which I grew up as a Christian and Baptist, so like I don't know as much about that stuff. So it was also kind of a learning factor for me as well going through this book. That was interesting. And I liked that some of the parts were set in Pentanguishene in Ontario. So actually a large portion of the series is set in Pentanguishene, Ontario, which is really cool because like any book that has a setting in my natural country is just like a cool book to me. I like that I can picture what the area looks like because I've seen it before, so it's a lot easier for me to get the visuals of the book, and I liked that. Yeah, so I was like pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed this historical fiction. And then I also read the second book to this series, which is The Seven Keys of Hildegard of Love and Betrayal. This one was a lot longer of a book than the first one, which might be a little bit of a downfall for me. I only gave it a 3 out of 5 instead of a 3.5 because of that. And this book is like, I can't say too much about it because it's a sequel. I guess my point from the first book was that there were a lot of characters introduced. At least in this book, you kind of have your mind like wrapped around who the different characters are. So that's good. And it's not like too taxing on you to try and remember all these different names. And the denominations of the church and stuff, that stuff you kind of get used to in this book because it's a lot longer. But I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. Like it was close to 500 pages, and it definitely could have been narrowed down a little bit shorter than that. That being said, there were a lot of things that happened in this book that progressed the plot a lot and were very like interesting and like pulled me in. But yeah, I think it's just overall the length of this book didn't need to be that long. And I think I would have given it a 3.5 again if it was just a little bit shorter because there were parts where I was losing interest. So, but overall, it's a historical fiction series that I'm actually enjoying, which is the first. So I'm probably going to continue with this series when the other books come out because they're not out yet. And yeah, I'm looking forward to them. And then I read a graphic novel near the end of the month, and that was Catwoman. And I really enjoyed this one. I gave this a 5 out of 5. I just love Catwoman and how fun she is and how she doesn't really give a shit and just does what she wants. I think that's really cool, and I like her character. And this one it was good because she's doing what she wants, but she's also trying to protect people that she loves. And you can see her as like a person more than just a hero, or I guess not a hero, but like an anti-hero. And yeah, she becomes real to you, and you can feel how she is outside of being Catwoman. And I thought that was really cool, being how it was portrayed in this graphic novel. I definitely want to read the rest of her series, her New 52 series. I only have the first one, so I'm gonna have to find the other ones online. But like, I was loving this book. It was really fun. I read it in I think 45 minutes, and yeah, it was a good time. I also read Slay by Brittany Morris, and this book is about a girl named Kira. She is a developer of a Black online mass multiplayer game that is called Slay. It's kind of like a card style game, and it's kind of funny because we actually just did our live show for this yesterday, and I had mentioned in the live show that the card style game that they play in this virtual reality that she built is similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! And none of the other hosts knew what Yu-Gi-Oh! Was, which really makes me feel like an old person because this is a game that I played when I was younger. So yeah. But anyway, this book was really well done. I thought the characters were phenomenal. Steph, Kira's sister is my favorite character in the whole book. She's fantastic. There's a lot of good points brought up in this book, and there are a lot of really cool like action scenes when they're doing their like battles in the virtual reality game, which I thought was really cool. This was also the first audiobook I had ever listened to because I had never done that before. So I had a really fun time with the audiobook because they had like different voices for all the different characters. They all felt like super real, and it was a really, I don't know, it was a really fun experience hearing these like battles get described over audio. Like I didn't know the audiobooks were so fun, but I do enjoy them, which is pretty cool. So like I'm probably going to do more audiobooks in the future. I also know that like when things happen, like I was washing the dishes at one part and then something happened super intense in the book and I just like stopped and I was like, "Oh wow. They went there." So I was like, "That's cool." But yeah, it was a really good book. I would strongly recommend this book. And yeah, I will say I don't know if it's like unrealistic that she developed an entire game and she's only 17 and it's a mass multiplayer online game. Like I think she would need another like a whole team behind her helping her develop this game because that's like a lot of work from personal experience as a web developer. That takes a lot to build a mass multiplayer online game. So I think that was a little bit unrealistic that she built the whole thing by herself. But other than that, it was a really good book. Like I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because I really enjoyed it. You should go check out our live show that we did yesterday. I think it's up on Troy Reed's channel. So I'll link that down in the description below so you can check it out. And then the last book that I read for this month was Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. And I want to say thank you to Brightness Katie Reeds for sending me this book because it is adorable. I loved this book. I read this book, well, I started it in the morning when I was having my morning coffee before work and I got halfway through it and then I just wanted to finish it so bad. So as soon as I finished the workday, I like consumed the rest of this book in like 30 minutes or so. And oh, it was so cute. That's literally what I could like keep saying to Marcus afterwards. I was like, you need to read this book. It's so cute. And that's all I kept saying. But oh, I need the other books in this series. I need them because this was so good. My heart just felt so full when I read this book. And I understand now why everybody has been giving this 5-star ratings. I'm giving it a 5-star rating too. It was fantastic. And also there's a playlist in the back of it that I looked up and it's on Spotify. So I listened to that too. And I can say that it does go really well with the book. This book also has great bisexual representation in it, which is fantastic because it's relatable. So that's another reason why I really enjoyed it. And that's it for my July wrap up. My next video, you guys will get to see Marcus's wrap up where he talks about all the books that I chose for him for his TBR. I'm crossing my fingers that he actually liked them because he has been holding back and not telling me what he feels about any of the books because he wants it to be a surprise for when he actually does his wrap up. And he's probably going to be watching my face to see my reactions. But I have some ideas of which ones he liked and which ones he may have not liked. But we're going to have to wait and see what he says. My next video will actually, I'm going to have to pre-film that one because that's going to be out on my actual birthday. So that's exciting. Anyways, that's it for my video, guys. You know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button so you know when I post videos. I post videos every Monday and Thursday. And until next time, keep on reading.